said, tomorrow we'll do this, we'll just do the regular day, so we'll get up early, 5:30 the bell will ring, 6 o'clock. It is taking precepts. Probably, yeah, and we can do our practice. Yeah, probably a bit longer. Normally it's 7:15, hour and a half extra. Or we can have precepts and then have a break and then come back for another session before. Yeah, we'll have extra hard work today, extra hard work tomorrow because of the holiday. So so what it is this, we talked a bit, I think it was before this, it was yesterday, different things that create the power of the object. What was that? When did we talk about the power of the object? And vows, the benefit of vows. What is it? For you people who are here today haven't heard about the power of vows and that thing, you weren't here for that? You new people? Huh? Remember? No? Come on. Okay. All right. So this set of vows, there's different lineages of vows over the centuries that have passed down. And there's something about the little package of vows, that little particular package gets passed from this to this to this, like that. So it's treated with retrospect, little packages of practices. So there's different vows, right? We've been talking a lot over the week about the different levels of practice. And this is sort of important to when you try to understand the overall Buddhist approach. It's really important to understand the levels of practice, levels of practice. And I think, as I've been saying, whenever you learn anything, it's always according to levels. When you go to school, you have different stages. When you go to music, you've got to know what stage you're at, what level you're at. Well, practicing a spiritual path is exactly the same, And Tibetans in particular are very clear, and it's very coherent, nice packaging. It lays out all the teachings according to this structure, And so there's three different, you can say there's one of the really powerful ways to create virtue, do virtuous things. And that's how we've been talking all week, really. There's two main ways of saying about practice. One is growing the flowers. That's called, quotes, creating merit, unquote, doing virtuous things, having a positive thought, doing a positive action, doing certain practices. And, some are very powerful, some are medium powerful. And so that's crucial. And then we've got to do what's called purification, which is pulling out the weeds, basically. The fundamental point the Buddha is making, as we've been talking all week, is that we have this mind which has this marvellous potential for perfection, basically. That's the meaning of Buddha. It's some airy-fairy thing in the sky, but it's a psychological process, and Buddha's deal is the mind. So the very first, and at a certain stage of practice, so you've got the basic stage, and I'm using this analogy of junior school and high school all the time. Well, in relation to junior school and high school, the first and second stages of practice, the first and second scopes, as they call it, which is this wisdom wing business, which is all the work you do on your own mind, where you're practicing morality, practicing refraining, harming others with your body and speech, beginning to work on your mind, and when you get to high school, you really work on your mind. And all of this is mainly to stop the old habits of continuing to do negative actions, which is to say an action done with your body and speech that harms another, motivated by a neurotic state of mind. That's what defines a negative action. So the Buddha is saying that's what causes us suffering. We've programmed our minds from countless lies, and that's how come we have any suffering at all, because we set ourselves up for it. So we've got to stop that process. We're sick of suffering. So junior school and high school is the wisdom wing, which is all about this one, knowing all the nuts and bolts of karma, how it works, the mind, the way it works, and it's very detailed, very intricate, and very precise. And this is the basis of it, the beginnings of the practice. So according to this level, there is a certain sets of vows, which give extra oomph to the power of the virtue one creates and the power of the purification one does. So as we discussed, I'll try this today. No. Oh, yesterday. Okay. So in general, as we've been talking, in general. So anyway, vows. The first level of vows here, as we've been calling often enough, is called, in Sanskrit, pratimoksha, individual liberation, which is the goal of junior school and high school. If you graduate after junior school and high school, you achieve your own nirvana. You've ceased suffering and its causes, and you're out the door, babe. You don't come back. You don't need to. So there's a certain sets of vows that one gives an extra boost and power to one's practice of morality here. So there's the 5, we're talking about these 10 non-virtues. It's not actually vows. They're just kind of guidelines of the Buddha. His suggestions. You don't do this, and you don't do that, and you don't do this, and you don't do that, Why? Because you don't want to suffer, because whatever you do causes you happiness or suffering. And we're the boss here. So there's also, as I said, you narrow those down to the set of vows, which is 5 for lay people. All the vows of a monk and nun are the same level. They're all pratimoksha. There's lots of them, there are hundreds of those. So essentially there's 5 main vows, 4 of the body and 1 of the speech. There's an added one. In the 10, you've got killing, that's 1 of the vows. You've got lying, that's 1 of the vows. You've got sexual misconduct, that's 1 of the vows, the 3 of the body. Then they add a 4th one, which is, don't take alcohol or drugs. Control your senses. Calm your mind down. That's a 5th vow. 4th vow? What happened there? Oh, yeah, there's lying. Then 1 of the speech, not 4. 1 of the speech, they bring it down to lying. That's 5 pratimoksha vows. So normally when one takes refuge formally, then you can also take this set of vows. And it's very powerful. Like I said, as Lama Zopa said, when you, for example, do an action of killing, we discussed, isn't it? You have the intention to kill, the motivation is attachment or anger, the object is there, the being is there, the mouse is there, you do the action, the mouse dies. Complete action of killing. So when you have to practice refraining from killing, then you have to have the intention not to kill. Because intention, remember, means karma. It's the actual, most accurate translation of karma. Most accurate. We use the word in a very colloquial way. Everything the mind does is a karma. And it's intention. So intention is a big deal. So when you intend to kill, and you do kill, that's an action of killing. You create. It's karma created. And there's no intention. Even you kill the mouse. If you didn't intend to, there's no karma. Well, depending on the situation at the time, but in general, no intention, no karma, because they mean that. It's kind of an important point. So clearly, what we're trying to do here is purify, or we're trying to live according to the first set of instructions. Don't kill. So obviously, if intention equals karma, it's only when you intend to kill, not kill, that you create the karma of not killing. We're sitting all happily now. We're not killing, but we're not creating any merit, or we're not purifying our minds. The mice are happy. We're living in peace. But we have to create merit. We have to make it virtuous. It's a really crucial point to get about karma. So having vows to not kill, you make a commitment to not kill, then every second you live purely in those vows, and you reiterate them every day, and you purify anything broken, then every second you're keeping those vows, 24 hours a day, when you're asleep, in bed, walking down going to the toilet, whatever. You're ticking over virtuous karma. Because such is the power of vows, they say. Even I said, that they say there's one who keeps vows purely has this sort of subtle physical energy that's visible to clairvoyance. There's something so tasty about living in morality, so precious on this earth. So Lama Zopa says, even having a kind thought is so special. It's crazy stuff in the world. So the pratimoksha vows, the 5, necessary for any person who wants to practice. It's just crazy not to live in the context of vows. So then you've got the next set, according to the Mahayana. Now there's 2 levels of practice there, as we know, the perfection vehicle, where you have your bodhisattva vows. And there's 18, I think, isn't it? Vows of them, and 46 secondary, a whole bunch. And their purpose, the first one is to help you refrain from harming others, like playing safe, back off, leave sentient beings alone. The second level, bodhisattva vows, they're also about not harming, but they're much more intricate, and they're more to do with your job to try to be a bodhisattva. And because, as we discussed yesterday, when we understand motivation, when we understand highly realized beings, we can see it's very easy to see how a person is very beneficial, very programmed by compassion, not caught up in ego at all, can do what looks like a negative action, because they're clairvoyant, they can see the mind of the person, they know what they're doing, but it's actually immensely virtuous because the motivation is bodhicitta. So it's much more tricky. So these bodhisattva vows are all about helping us make sure we benefit others. And they're all related to the 6 perfections. So there's a bunch of vows related to helping you practice generosity. There's a bunch of vows related to the practice of morality. So there's all kinds of vows, like a secondary one. For example, because the whole point is to benefit others. So let's say you break a secondary bodhisattva vow. If, for example, I would break the vow, you ask me out for dinner, but I'm kind of bored, don't particularly like you, not my friend, and I make an excuse, I'm really too busy. I break a vow. I break a bodhisattva vow. Here, the motivation is more the key. If I'm sincerely busy and I say no, then I'm not lying. But if my motivation stinks, I'm attached or angry or can't be bothered, that breaks a bodhisattva vow. If someone offers you something, no, thanks a lot, I don't need it. You break a vow. You prevent that person from creating the merit of giving. You break a vow. So it really helps you, when you know these vows well, which we should do, which we should study, It's very intricate things, and of course, like anything, when you start to learn piano, you get all these instructions. Don't do this, and don't do this, and don't do this. It's really difficult to remember everything. But like everything, you get used to it. And they're amazing guidelines to help you really putting sentient things first. Very marvelous, actually, because you need to know them. And the third set are what's called tantric vows. Much more subtle, more technical, as Amishi puts it. And there's a whole bunch of them as well. So there's something really vital about these. And they're really like instructions of what to do to protect yourself, to guide yourself. So in just the same way, when you learn to drive a car, you're given all these instructions, We don't call them vows or commitments. It sounds so holy. But essentially they're that. Never go across the road without looking. Never do this. Never. Well, you can say there's so many restrictions if you wrote them all down as, don'ts. The pages and pages you have of never do this and never do that and don't do this and don't do that. And the reason is because you get killed or you harm people. Not even to mention you might break the law. Don't worry about that. So we understand this idea, but as soon as it's called vows, we think, oh, that's religion, It's so childish. All a vow is instructions to help you become the person you want to become. It's very helpful. It's so helpful. They say they like protect you. It really feels this way. It really feels like protection, Gives you instructions, guidelines. And of course, like when you get used to it, you remember. So then, you always know you have this in the back of your mind. We understand the power of that. If you're committed to somebody, I'm married to Porrick, We sit there and we vow to each other and we don't cheat. Well, even if I look at another bloke, I'm remembering my vow to him. So it protects your mind. We understand vows. And even look if you like say, I better go on a diet. 27 years later, you still haven't gone on a diet. Until you say, I will go on a diet. And then you remember your commitment. Every day you wake up, every day you see the food, you remember your commitment. We understand. Power, commitment, and vows. It's very sensitive, very logical, psychologically. There's certainly massive, marvellous power from Buddha would say. He's really big on this. So, okay, so this particular set we're taking tomorrow is just for 24 hours, and it's the regular style vows, they sound like the Pratimoksha vows, but it's this particular package that belongs to the Mahayana. So the type of activity is like the regular one, the lowest level, the first level, but it's a Mahayana package, which means its context is bodhicitta, which makes it so much more powerful. And so Rinpoche waxes lyrical about the benefits of living in these vows, doing every now and again, 24 hours a day, And because the purpose of all vows, which is to help you train yourself as a human being, this first level being to train yourself not to harm others, through these instructions to remind you. And so this, as I said, is the 5 regular ones that we'd normally have: killing, lying, stealing, no, not sexual misconduct, but no sex at all, no sexual activity, and no alcohol and drugs. And the purpose, of course, of all of these is to help you steady your body, speech, and mind. It's like the way you play the piano. You've got to do it this way, and you must do it this way. And when you drive the car, you must do this, and you must do that. It feels restrictive. When you realise it helps you drive the car better, it makes sense. Well, this helps you become better human beings, calming your crazy body, speech, and mind down, and creating masses of virtue, because vows make it very powerful. And then there's extra 3. Not only 1 meal a day, and no, they call it in India black food, which means food that energises your senses. I wouldn't even know. Have you ever noticed that meat and onions energise your senses? I must be sick of the post, but some people have very sensitive bodies and they notice, I wouldn't have a clue. Things are the same to me. Some people, they say that energizes your senses. It energizes attachment. So you don't have meat, eggs, onions, radishes, things like that. Garlic or something, no garlic. So we'll have plain food tomorrow. And then also, to help you steady your mind, control your attachment, because food is such a big deal for most of us, we just have one meal. You can do it with two, but if you do many of these, you can do 2 meals, but one's good for one day. It's okay, you can be a bit brave. Usually the cooks always give us an extra big meal. You stuff yourself so completely, you sort of, go off to sleep. So, okay, so that's, and then the last 3, as I said, just one meal. What eating, and you've got to have, we've got to finish our session early. You know if you have to start early to cook. Lunch is ready at 11:30. And how do you have to go serve yourself? How long does it take to set it? By the time you walk down there, normally how long does it take you to get sit at your plate? Have you noticed? How long does it take? Yeah. Do you have to go and serve your own dinner? You go up and serve yourself. Well, we should be out of here after 11:15 then, to be on the safe side. You've got to be. You don't want to rush the food, and you're supposed to stop them. No more mouthful afternoon. So make it leisurely. I think we'll quit this first session at 11:15. So we'll start a bit early tomorrow. We'll do. Okay, so we're going to have 6 o'clock. Maybe it takes half an hour, 45 minutes. So 7, 6:37. Yeah, maybe. We can do the meditation then. We can have the precept and meditation. And we'll have about an hour and a bit altogether. So you've got to have a break. And then we'll start again at 8:30. 8:30, 11:15. Is that all right, people? You're okay with that? No, okay, let's think more clearly. 6 o'clock. Precepts, if you just do it nicely, slowly, and then you have a bit of motivation, a few morning prayers. It's probably 45 minutes. So that's 6:45. Then we have, do our 30 minutes of meditation after that, if you like. 30 minutes, 7:45. It's 7:15. So we stop at 7:15. Then we go and have a cup of tea. You have to tell them we need to have morning tea at 7:15. Coffee, morning tea, whatever you have down here. Instead of breakfast, it'll be 7:15. You have a cup of tea, cup of coffee. If that's okay with them, work it out with them, check that in. All right. So what do you have down there? Coffee, tea, milk, sugar, honey, this, that? Yeah, of course in the morning you can. So, but you don't have tea normally in the morning? Okay, but there's no what kind of coffee? Nescafe or espresso? Nescafe. So that's normally what time? Oh, okay. So milk you've got there? Yeah. And is there a microwave? No microwave? No. So you've got hot milk? You haven't got cold milk? Okay. No microwave. So there's no microwave? There's no microwave. So you haven't got a microwave, I'm asking. But they won't be busy at 7:15, will they? Huh? Well, maybe somebody can go in and cook a whole bunch of nice hot milk for you. It's nice to have a hot drink with hot milk in it. If you want to. Maybe you don't care, you people. I'm just trying to make you happy. I'm trying to make you happy. If at 7:15 there's no one in the kitchen, you can go butt into the cook, you can go in and make hot milk in the microwave. Why not? You're allowed to have a nice, hot, delicious cafe latte, okay? Cinnamon on top, yeah? Oh, you can make it at least, you put it in, well, if it's a full cup of milk, I'd put it in for 1.5 minutes at least in the microwave, okay? So that's just you giving permission to have nice, hot, delicious tea. Then at 7:15 you do that, and then you come have a break and space out, and then come back at 8:30, and then we'll go teaching from 8:30 to 11:15. Yeah? Okay, that's good. All right, good. Yes. Yes, darling. Yes, you just don't have 2 meals. But you got to have it then. You're even going to have another drink later, but you won't have any time anyway. So. You don't have full milk. You have a little bit of milk. Don't go and make a latte then. It's not really full milk. I mean, they're talking like in India where there's thick, creamy stuff, Back in the time of Lord Buddha from the local cow. You're not allowed to have it. But I can't imagine anything in milk these days will make you go to the toilet, make you go to the other end of the toilet. I don't think so. I don't think so. Okay? All right. Good. Yeah? No, darling, you can still take the precepts, and when you do it, you make a decision you're going to have 2 meals tomorrow. And then you have your breakfast, and the best way to do it, you have your breakfast, so that they're going to give you your breakfast. Yeah? Okay. So then you have your breakfast, and you just eat nice. And one of the things they say with these precepts, especially, we even have it as a vow as a nun or a monk, that when you eat, you really should sit down and be very mindful when you eat. And then this is the point. The strict way to keep precepts is this. This really applies to lunch. It might be difficult, I don't know. Once you sit down, you're not allowed to get up again. Once you sit down, you ought to sit in one sitting, which often means waiting for people serving you. But if you go for seconds and things, it could be difficult. So maybe you just have to forget that one. But really be aware of that. Don't just be greedy and get as much stuff and do. Trying to sort of be, you understand what I'm saying. The point of it is to live in a bit sort of controlled day. So as much as you can, maybe if you can do one sitting, if you really have to get up and get your pudding and everything, you've got dessert and things, you've probably got dessert. Yeah, okay. Probably have to get up again unless someone serves you, otherwise you've got to go. But really be aware. Try not to stuff yourself too much and have 14 servings, like that. Try and be aware you're on a strict day. You've got to suffer a bit, all right? Okay. Okay? Pardon? Okay. So there's the meal business. There's not allowed to, they say, play music with attachment. We're not going to play music anyway, so don't worry about it. And then the third one is, as I said, no high beds. We've probably got any high beds anyway, so don't worry about that. Just hear the meaning of it. It's about arrogance and sitting on fancy high thrones and beds and things. So that's it, really. There you go. So we'll do that for... That's 8. Well, that's 9 then. Oh, that must come with the music. Yeah, no music or jewellery. Okay, I forgot. Thank you. That all comes as one. So you try to be as unadorned as possible. So that if you have a mala, we mostly wear it like a jewellery, so they attach to our nice watches and our nice malas. You think of it as adornments. So it's best don't do that. Just be unadorned. If you've got earrings and things, take them out if you can. The whole point is just subdue the senses. Okay? Makes sense? Yes. Okay. This is, the point is, well, I won't be giving it. I've decided I won't be giving it. So we'll all do it together, so you're not taking it. But this is, according to the different levels of teachings, but even if you take refuge, you take 8 Mayana precepts, you take the vows, any sets of vows, not to mention initiation, Lama Zorinpoche would interpret it very strictly. They say, even your alphabet teacher, the way they call it in Tibet, where you learn the alphabet from the monk in the monastery and your little boy, because it's teaching you the letters of the Dharma, even you should try and develop this relationship with that person as one of your lamas, one of your teachers. The traditional way of presenting it is not quite as strict as that. So that's the way I've always taught it. When people take refuge with me, I tell them, this is the thing you're supposed to see. And if people can do it, that's great. But I just have to really check carefully what the proper teaching is. Traditional teaching. The Rinpoche is quite strict. The strict interpretation, the best approach would be to see that person in front of your lamas. But that's why I'm not going to do it tomorrow. I'm just going to... Normally what I'm saying is it's like a little ceremony. Normally you repeat it after me, you receive it from me. I'm just going to do it together. It's okay. Okay, we'll do it. That's great. Tomorrow morning. Okay, so all right, that's it. That's that. Any questions about it? Anyone feeling uncomfortable about anything? You want to clarify some points? Yes, Jane? The practice we're doing is super powerful. Hearing teachings and doing Vajrasattva. Taking precepts itself is phenomenal. So, we could add all sorts, believe me, honey, we could add all sorts of things. We could do the 35 Buddhist prostrations. We could do all kinds of things. You could have no lunch. I think we're doing enough, okay? We can do more. We can do maybe, you can say, okay, if you've learned this mantra, how many of you, if you've learned the mantra, you can say it throughout the day. You do it yourself. You can, they'll be busy up there all day. Just be aware of that and, I don't know, it's enough. Doing the practice itself is amazing. Doing the mantras is amazing. You can do more prostrations, but nobody's doing those prostrations. I mean, as long as I can get the upper three, we'll be doing it all day, Don't get lazy. Like that. Okay. The plan was just to do it for 24 hours. Just until dawn. You can hop up and eat something after dawn on Sunday. It's 24 hours. From the time 6 o'clock until tomorrow, Sunday 6 o'clock. So what do you want to do tonight? Should we continue with the 6 reflections? Okay. We'll finish with a little 15-minute meditation at the end. Okay, so we are up to morality. Continue to benefit others. Benefit others. Not just refraining from harming, but to now proactively benefit. And this is just, so it's the point of a Buddhist practice, to benefit others. And really, I think it's the same as the generosity. You kind of factor it into your life. We do help others. There's no doubt about it. We do. We're kind people, and many of our jobs are really beneficial to others. People do volunteering when they retire and things. It's really marvelous. But we tend to, again, it's like so busy. If there's time left, I might. It's sort of like budget it in. Put it, one of your jobs in the day is to benefit others. Lots of people do that, don't they? They volunteer to do things for sick people, homeless people, old people, these things. It's wonderful. One of my brothers-in-law, he's 80, I think, and he's a computer guy. He used to be a computer guy since the 70s, like in England. And he goes and teaches the oldies, as he says it. And when we discovered he's actually mostly younger than him. He teaches the oldies computers, how to use the computers. He's older than them. Funny. Yeah. Okay. So, but the next one is very interesting. It's just called patience. And you think, what big deal is this? Why patience all of a sudden? What a funny thing to add, But it really is the way, again, they present it, there's the patience, there's levels of it. The patience, so this sounds a bit shocking to our ears. The patience of accepting the abuse. It says that in the teaching. The patience of accepting the abuse. I mean, please, it sounds outrageous. But really, another way of saying it is it's like the transforming problems business. It's the same. It's the same deal. Transforming problems means happy when bad things happen. Putting up with it. Being not just put up with it. And this is what patience really is. This is where it's interesting. We really believe, I think, that patience is a bit like passive aggression. You sort of sit there gritting your teeth and waiting for it to go away. That's what we think of as patience. I'm putting up with something. But it is just frustrated anger. And that's not the meaning of patience. It takes time to practice. It really is difficult. It just takes time for much changing in your mind. But you've got to start somewhere. Because patience is exactly the same as transforming problems. It's actually practicing welcoming the difficult thing. Welcoming abuse. I mean, abuse means when someone's mean to you. You might use it so intensely if someone's just mean to you, but that word abuse, somebody abuses you. We use it in a very heavy way now these days, that word abuse, don't we? If someone shouts at you in the car or something, that's abuse, insults you. In other words, you hear unpleasant sounds with my name in it, or it's directed at you. There's nothing more horrible. We know it's horrible. And so the idea of being patient, meaning accepting, welcoming the abuse. So really the whole thing of patience is it's the way I like to say it, we know because of the default mode of attachment, this desperate need to get the nice things every single second. So the practice is, like the transforming problems really, the millisecond a thing happens that you don't want. The red light, simple. Product coming home late. Not appreciating my cooking. The kids being rude. I mean, little baby things, especially close people, because we're so hungry to be seen. We're so hungry to be appreciated. We've got to remember that's why we get upset when people hurt us. We've got to remember that. Don't just say it's natural. It's because of attachment. So it's an amazing practice. Just as, as our mothers would tell us, it's water off a duck's back. Sticks and stones will break your bones, and names will never hurt you. All these wonderful cliches from our grandmas and things, but they're just so profoundly true. But we can see how difficult it is. That's what, see, patience isn't just putting up with something. It actually is, it's like transforming problems, it's welcoming it. That's when we've really got patience. When it no longer disturbs you when the bad thing happens, which seems impossible, but it is not impossible when you know your mind well. It's not impossible. We have to see this. The only reason we get upset, hurt, offended, insulted, angry when bad things happen is because we're attached to good things happening. This is very unique to the Buddha's way of saying it. We just assume it's normal in our culture. When you understand the dynamics of it in the Buddhist view, it's phenomenal. You really can see the logic of it. You really can see it. So, accepting the abuse. And the second one is accepting, what's it called? Accepting nothing. The bad things, like sickness. This is a tough one, because some people get so sick, the pain must be unbearable. I can't imagine the pain of some people, all the time, just constant pain. But this is patience again. Accepting it. Somehow finding a way mentally and again, why should you be patient? Why should we accept bad things? Why should we try to transform a problem? What's the logic behind it? Not just because someone said and it sounds holy. It's totally logical because you're trying to rip out the delusions from the mind. It's obvious. It's like Lance Armstrong welcoming the tough mountains. They kill you mostly, but he welcomes those because that's going against the inertia. So it's like these 8 deep habits we have to try and break. So patience is, and of course the only way, the time to start the patience is the millisecond the bad thing happens. It's a bit late 20 minutes later when you're raging crazy, I better be patient. Bit late. And that's where we have to be mindful. Right there. Understand what's arising in our mind and noticing the millisecond it arises. And this itself is such incredible practice. This itself is so amazing. Seeing what our mind is thinking. Seeing the knee-jerk reactions. Slowly, 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 slowly changing them. Practicing thinking differently. Welcoming that bad thing. Such a huge practice. And whose benefit it's for? So obvious. Ours. So huge. It makes, in other words, patience actually is an incredibly brave attitude. It's courageous. We think of patience as weak. We think of it as passivity, putting up with something, scared to say something. All that's how we think of patience. And indeed, some people are indeed scared to say something, and are afraid, and are repressed, and are putting up with it. But maybe they should speak out sometimes. That's where you have to have wisdom. You have to have wisdom in your mind. Like the victim in a relationship will put up with the abuse. But they're not really, because in their mind they're raging. That's not patience. That's not patience. That's fear and cowardice. That'd be common sense. You say, see you later, mate, I'm leaving. But no, they go home like moth to a flame for more passions. Then they want to kill him. And they blame them. It's very sneaky, the mind. Very shocking. So the courage. I always remember watching that film, that wonderful film Scorsese made, Kundun. The presence is the term they use for His Holiness in Tibet, the presence. And I thought it was the way, I don't know if you've seen it, but it's about the Dalai Lama, in Tibet. And when he was a little boy, there was one actor. They weren't actors, they were all just regular Tibetan people who played these roles. Then when he was 19, when the whole terrible stuff happened and the Chinese came and everything, and one young man played that role. And I had the feeling that he really depicted this patience well. I mean, I know, I can speak this really, really experientially, because anger has been a massive thing in my life. So now when I meet people, I can tell immediately who's angry and who's not, who's patient, who's angry. Patient people are people who just don't get upset easily. A patient person just doesn't get agitated, annoyed. Mostly we say annoyed, irritated, frustrated. They're all variations of anger, where you can't bear that bad thing happening. But some people actually are like that. Some people are just patient. They haven't had to practice it. People like that blow my mind. I just adore people like that. Something marvelous about them, That means when a bad thing happens, they kind of go, oh, brat, And then in a moment, they've already accepted it. It's pretty brave, And sometimes it's interesting. You can see it's interesting, I've noticed there's something about angry people, honestly myself. You've got very busy mind, very fast, it's action energy. It's real action energy. And it can be used, it can be transformed, because as Martin Luther King said, it's okay to be angry, meaning to find fault. How did that happen? And the angry mind's always finding fault, and then shouting and yelling about it. That part's the crazy part. But seeing there's something wrong, that's good. Because then you say, as Martin Luther King said, what can I do about it? That's action. That's fantastic. But you can see with patient people, they've got the flip side. They put up with things. So they mightn't act as much. They're not very action-oriented. You kind of see what I'm saying? Because when you're patient, you put up with things. But sometimes when you shouldn't put up with it, when you should act, but it's hard for patient people who've got this kind of inert energy. But the good side is the patience one. Are you seeing what I'm saying? So don't be too distressed because you're angry. You can transform it, okay? It's all right. Just turn it into action. What can I do to help? Instead of raving on. What can I do to help? Then it's fantastic. So patience is an amazing state of mind. Just amazing. It's brave, and that's the way I like to put it. Because the more you see, as I said before, in Buddhist psychology, fear isn't labelled as a particular delusion. But we can see how massive fear is. That what they say, and when you see this, it's mind-blowing, that all the neuroses, all the delusions are in the nature of fear. They are completely mixed with fear. That's why we suffer so tormentedly in our culture. So much delusion, therefore so much fear, anxiety, worry, all these words. And as Amazova says, when you cut ego and all the delusions, there is no more fear. Quite literally. Very, very interesting. And so you look into your mind when you're angry. You look at an angry person shouting and yelling. They are having a mental breakdown, aren't they? And look at their eyes, wide in panic and fear. Like, it's hysterical. How can this thing be happening? It's like John McEnroe, What's he say? What did John McEnroe used to say? You cannot be serious. That's what anger sounds like. It's like anger can't bear that this terrible thing's happening. Like, oh my God. That's what anger is. That's why people literally go mad when really terrible things happen. Literally, they lose their minds. Because it is unbearable. You can't bear it. Do you understand what I'm saying? Fear is, look at jealousy. Complete panic state. Look at attachment. When you're so frantic with attachment to get what you want. I can understand when I remember I was into, blokes, and really obsessed with a certain person. I remember one particular relationship. I can understand how people could kill to get what you want, to get the person, or to, do you understand what I'm saying? The mind is like gone mad. Fear is the nature of every one of the delusions. It's very fascinating. Fear is just right there. It pervades all of them. Of course, they talk about ignorance as the root one, and that's the primordial fear. That's the one where it comes from. All the others are just tainted by it. So it's so interesting to see it, and we can see how psychologically it is just like a nightmare, all these states. And that the virtues are fearless, clear, light, spacious, interdependent. So patience is the greeting. Anyway, that movie, I remember vividly. I mean, I appreciate patient people. And so, like, it was really stark, the difference, when there was a few meetings with, like, the Chinese, the army guys. And they were depicted as really arrogant and rude and very, very impatient, very angry. Whereas the Tibetans are renowned for being patient, their nature, their personality. And Dalai Lama was saying, years ago, saying he's so sad to see, as the time goes by, more and more young Tibetans are getting angry. He means personality-wise getting more anger, which is very distressing and painful, which makes us all crazy. Look at the world. But Tibetans are renowned for having patient personalities. And so this young man who played the role, when some next terrible thing would happen, like dreadful things that the Chinese communists were doing, and he's running this country, the way I acted, the response to it, wasn't the kind of raging way we would go when something bad happened. Freaking out, angry, raging. But it was like his heart was broken. You know? I noticed it somehow, the way he played it. That's patience. That's what patience is. The sadness is unbearable, but you don't get angry. And that therefore, you can stay clear. When you're angry, you've lost the plot. You have no idea what's happening. You're just insane. But when you're patient, this is the point. It's not passivity. It's not putting up with something. Not like that. What patience is, it sees clearly what's happening instead of losing the plot. And then, of course, you immediately think if there's something you can do to change it. And then you do it, of course. But anger seems to rant and rave and kick and bash your head against a brick wall, and we think it's virtuous. And that was the thing I mentioned about those two people on death row. Both on death row. I remember reading that woman's story, remember? One in Florida, I didn't meet her, who was accused of murder with her husband, the 3 kids. They were arrested. She lost her kids. The husband got executed, and they were innocent. After 17 years, the guy finally confessed and she got out. The suffering. You can't imagine the pain of this. She was patient. She didn't go crazy. She was wrongly accused, but she didn't lose the plot. She said, they can't take my mind from me. But this other guy I remember reading about at the same time, raging every single day until he went completely mad, screaming like a maniac every single day, I did not rape and kill that woman, you know. They were both right, they were innocent, but he went completely mad because of rage and all the other things. It's understandable, but you can see the difference. So when you stay patient, you can stay clear and see what the situation is, and then if there's something you can do, you do it. If not, then you put up with it. As Buddha said, listen, please, if you can change something, change it. But if you can't, why worry? It sounds too shocking for us, you know. We think there's a virtue in bashing our heads against brick walls, and shouting and yelling. That's why we have to have the wisdom to know when it's wise to do something or say something. Sometimes we know there is literally nothing to be done, right then at least. But it looks to us like weak, you know. We think there's a virtue in shouting. Not at all. So this is this immense skill to cultivate. An immensely brave attitude, patience. It's welcoming. That horrible thing. And it's opposite to fear. I always remember when I was a little girl about fear. When I used to go out the back door, right in front was this great big backyard. And on dark nights it was pitch black, you know. And then that was where you went to go to the toilet, to the lavvy as we call it in Australia. Did you call it the lavvy? Yeah, we call it the lavvy in Australia. Because Australians, we are in Australia, aren't we? Yeah. See, I forget where I am, you see. I forget completely where I am. I was about to treat you like Americans. It's hilarious, isn't it? The dunny, no, I never called it the dunny. We called it the lavvy. Anyway, I'd have to just go out the door and take 2 steps on the little brick path to where the lavvy was. But every night I'd go out, my heart would be beating, you know. I'd bang the door because I was scared of the dark. This is a bit different now. No, this is a bit like patience. Fear, patience. Then I thought one night, if I walked out into the middle of the garden, I'd see there's nothing to be afraid of. But this is not patience, maybe. No, it's not quite patience, actually. Never mind, blah, blah. Yeah. Yeah. When I talk about that one here. No, it's fear in general, yeah. That's right. So anyway, patience is pretty amazing. And the third kind of patience is the patience in the face of the obstacles to your practice. Yeah, of course, that's one. If we're practicing, you see those. If we're not practicing, we won't have them. So the fourth one, which is the most difficult of these first four, which are the ones where you perfect the compassion wing, which is the work you do in relation to sentient beings, and which they all say is the key to success. Without this fourth one, you will not succeed. And it's very fascinating, this one. It's called enthusiasm. It sounds like hysterical, doesn't it? Like enthusiasm. Or joyful effort. That sounds weird too. But it comes into stark focus, the meaning of it, when you hear the opposite. And surprisingly, the opposite is called laziness. And this is hilarious, but you'll really understand it. It's amazing, actually. You'll get it. Excuse me. So the first one is, okay, the point here is, in order to succeed, and if you just thought the ordinary samsaric world, we'll understand this, but we're talking here in terms of spiritual practice, but just relate it to your ordinary world and you'll get the point. We all know to achieve something, to succeed at something, you have to make effort. And what that means is, achieving something means something you haven't done before, like, become an accountant, go to the gym. Do you understand my point? So simply because you haven't done it before, we all know you've got to make effort. You've got to stretch yourself. You've got to squeeze your brain, squeeze your body. You've got to push yourself to do it. We know that. And we can see in our world, ordinary world, forget spiritual practice, this is one of our worst ones. We live in our head all our days what we'd like to achieve. But why don't we achieve? Because we have the three kinds of laziness. The first one is can't be bothered. It's like in your face, bone laziness. It's too much effort. You think, I must go to the gym with, New Year's things. And then you're home one night after work and it's cold out there. Oh, goodbye to the gym. Because you've got to make effort, don't you? You've got to do what you don't like. You've got to push. We know this. This is the grossest one. How come, when we look at spiritual practice, how come we don't achieve? It's obvious. So, meaning, right back to the beginning, it's attachment to our comfort. We are absolute junkies for the comfort zone. And making an effort is getting outside your comfort zone. We know that. This is the first one, obvious. But this is the only one we think of as laziness. So these other two are really sneaky. When you hear it, you'll understand. The second one is, oh, I'm too busy. I'll do it later. And we believe our own propaganda. It's procrastination. It's a lie. You're not too busy. It's a lie. Because we all know in the end you always do what you want to do. Unless you're a really disciplined person who has an incredibly busy life and just can't fit everything in, but you really try your best. But we can see with most of us, we're so manipulative in our head. We lie to ourselves. We believe our own propaganda. Oh, it's just not true. It just isn't true. Because if you really want to do something... I mean, I was really mean to a friend one time when she was talking about, she wanted to come to the teachings. And she really, definitely wants to come to the teachings. It was like a half an hour drive or something. And then she mentioned that she was just too busy. She just couldn't do it, She didn't have the time. And then I said to her, and she's a friend, and I said, if there was $1,000 check waiting for you, would you have said that? And she thought, and she was embarrassed, and she said, no, of course I wouldn't have. You see my point? So all I'm saying is, don't be fundamental, don't be sort of moralistic about it. Oh, well, I really should go to the teachings. If you don't want to go to the teachings, don't go to the teachings, but don't lie to yourself. We lie to ourselves. We lie. Because why we don't want to go do our practice day and night, why we don't want to go to teachings or go to retreats and do this and do that, because it's just really hard work. And it is exhausting for us, and it does take an enormous amount of effort. But we shouldn't lie to ourselves. We have to be very sincere. If we lie to ourselves, it's just double trouble. We should say, I just didn't want it enough. I can't really see the benefit. Instead of, I really was too busy. And that's how we talk to ourselves. That's a lie. Even if it's just the gym, I'm too busy. And I noticed this one in my mind, incredible. Like all the work I do is Dharma work, so aren't I fortunate? But I can see there are many jobs I don't like doing. And it's like within a millisecond, I say to myself, I notice in my mind, going to that particular folder on my computer, and then within a millisecond, I'm already in another one, and I've convinced myself that I'll do it later. But it's actually so quick. Are you hearing what I'm saying, people? It is so quick, you just don't even hear it because your mind is so pushed by attachment to do what you want. And then we lie. So, it's like our practice. We go to a retreat, get all holy, I must go and do practice every day. I promise I'll do practice every day. First day you do it, and the second day you do it, and the third day you kind of, oh God, no, really? And then you get out of bed and you do it. The fourth day, then it's just like too much effort. Too much. But you say, oh, I'm really too busy this morning. The kids are all work together, and boom, you've already convinced yourself. Too busy. I'll do it later. And there's a relief in the feel. You feel relieved. But you know you won't do it later. We lie to ourselves. This is the worst one. I'm talking about my mind. I don't know about yours, but I'm telling you. And I'm embarrassed. It's so quick. It's so quick how you say it to yourself. Oh. If we didn't put anything off ever, we would achieve so much in a day, it would be completely mind-boggling. I swear to you, we would so admire people who achieve so much. Because they have this willingness, enthusiasm to just do things and don't have this drama in their head. I think it's quite rare, Okay, spiritual practitioners, they're the ones who practice it. But, it's not true to say I'm too busy to do my meditation in the morning. It's just not true. You don't get out of bed and then have your shower, and then you realise the time is late. You've got to do meditation and sit there with soap in your head and hop in the car. I'm too busy to take the soap out of my hair. I'm too busy to put my skirt on. I'm too busy to have my breakfast. I'm too busy to get dressed and you go to work in your pyjamas. I don't think so. You understand? So don't lie to yourself. So all the lamas, they always say, and it's obvious really, and it's the same with anything, samsara as well. When you know the benefit of something, of course you want to do it. Like, my friend knew the benefit of $1,000. It sounds so exciting. I said, even if it was a 4-hour drive, she would have gone for $1,000. Do you understand? But to go to an hour's teaching, it's just, and I understand. You've got to know the benefit. You've got to see the benefit. And of course, you've got to grow yourself slowly. And even just use ordinary samsaric examples of going to college to do your new degree, or going to this, or go to the gym to get thinner or something. Look how lazy we are. Because it takes effort, and it's so hard to go past that comfort zone. But the biggest one, the second one, is the lying to ourselves. We believe our own propaganda. And that's the naughtiest one. Because as long as you lie to yourself, you'll never see the truth, which means you won't try to change it. Because the fact is, we are very good at timing things, at scheduling things, at prioritising things. We're good at this. So just be truthful, prioritise. And so with a practice, it doesn't need to be hours. There are certain components of a practice that are very meritorious. So if you just do 5 minutes in a day, if you're thinking about a practice, it's skillful means, skillful. Then you get it in, and you build up the habit. Because we all know you've got to do something every day to get the habit going. You know that. And of course it's a difficult one, because we're so conditioned not to do things like work on our mind and do our practice and do our prostrations and this kind of thing. I mean, it happens to be for me that Lamas over years ago gave me the 35 Buddhist prostration practice to do every morning and every night of my life. Well, for years and years, I used to do 5 sets every morning. I was really gung-ho. It was my good physical exercise as well. It was great. You got a nice sweat, 20 minutes, full on. Now, I still do it, maybe 1 set in the morning, but at night, well, I used to do 1 set nicely, 35 to 40 prostrations. I now do the entire 35 Buddhas and the prayer and the names in 3 prostrations. Do you understand? It's quick. It's so quick you can't believe it, but I do it. But it's completely bone lazy, And that's short prostrations. Do you understand? But at least I do it. I keep my word of honour. But talk about it. It's like doing your push-ups, and the minute it hurts, you stop. Oh, I did my push-ups. You didn't. You didn't make effort, But at least at the moment, I make effort even to do that, so it's making effort. And as Lama Zopa said, you don't create much merit until you make effort. Effort is the opposite of laziness. So you all know what I'm saying. This is massive, and they all say, without this one, you will not be successful. And we know in an ordinary world, without this one, you won't be successful. We all know that's why we admire people who achieve things. If only I could do this. Because we've got laziness, and we don't realise. We think we're too busy. And this is the worst one. The worst one is coming. It doesn't sound like laziness to us, but it's fascinating. It's the attitude that says, oh, I can't do that. impossible. It's very interesting to call it laziness, but it's the worst of all. I'm not capable. And we think it's virtuous. I can't do that. And if I look at ordinary life, we get spiritual. This is what holds us back from achieving most things. We see the result, and then we see me here, and we can't see the space in between. That's impossible, also. This is the one that's incredible. Whereas if we know the logic of how every sentient being has Buddha nature, and it's an incremental step-by-step thing, you take one step at a time. We all know you just take one step at a time. Then it's logical that you can do it. But we assume I can't, like we can't do that now. Well, you can't. Of course you can't. But you can go one step at a time. And again, it's this other laziness all mixed in. But what holds most of us back? I'll have one example. Again, with the prison project, I learned so much from the prison projects. You had to do it because the need was so huge. Had to do it. Had to raise the money. Had to find the money. We said we'd do it, then we'd find the money. So you had to do it. It was very strong. Forced you to make effort. So I remember one time, I see it in the centres, you know. A lot of us, we don't know how to manage things. We don't know how to do budgets. So you just, it's hope. You can't do it. It's too much money. Can't do it, we'll say. I remember this one little centre, somewhere in South America. Years and years and years ago. The director was the sweetest. I mean, he was the sweetest, like a little saint, you know. But he was a hopeless manager. You could tell. But he was the sweetest man. And he asked me to make a little meeting, bring all the people together, and just brainstorm about how to make the centre successful, right? So I'd learned all this from the prison project. I didn't know about budgets, but I learned how to do things. You basically have expenses sheet. You have one page that says expenses, and you have one page for income. And you kind of work them out, you know. So I knew you got to start with the one of what do you want. You've got to start with the expenses. You've got to do budget. So you've got to work out, what do I want? And you know you're just playing with it. So you have to be worried about it. But this is our problem with our world. The problem with this fellow. So we all sat around and I had the expenses sheet. Because you first have to say what you want. We're going to do a year's plan. What the centre would be like. What would you like it to be? So the first thing I said, when I was this old, we had like no statue. And I said to him, would you like a new statue? And he said, oh no, we can't have that. We haven't got any money. I said, I didn't ask you that. Would you like a new statue? No, Robina, I told you, we can't afford. I said, listen, you've got to hear me. Would you like a new statue? Are you hearing me, people? Are you hearing my point? Finally, he was like, you could see he was so, because this is what we do. The minute you see something that looks more difficult, you don't go, well, that's interesting. Let's see if we can accomplish that. We go, nah, not possible. You with me? And we stay in our comfort zone, paralysed, and we never get anywhere. And that's what I did with the prison project. You had to move it forward. You had to say you could do it. And somehow you'd find the means. It was as scary as hell, like walking on the edge of a cliff. I learned that, you know. So this was an incredible, fascinating experience. He eventually, after many questions, slowly heard it. It was like terrifying for him. Because he didn't think he had permission to even say, I want something. And that's what most of us, we don't even know. We're too scared to say, I want to do that. Because the first thing we say is, I can't do it. Are you hearing me? I tell you, this is mind-boggling. So he said, all right, yes. So I put a number down. And then they all got the message. And it was so exciting meeting, you know. Because it's just thoughts. You've got to start with a thought. You've got to start with the thought that you want it. You've got to dare to say, I want it. Then you open the door to the possibility. So what we did was we ended up having an entire vision for the whole year. Exactly what they wanted. Beautiful altar, a bigger room, more people, 4 teachers visiting a year, the cost, the marketing. We did it all. They were having such fun, you know. We put the number down. It looked hilarious. Then we projected the income, and it wasn't that hysterical, and they ended up with a surplus. Are you with me? It was such because numbers are so clear, you know. But for me, that was the way I learned with the prison project. You had to say yes, because the need was so desperate. You could not say, no, we can't do it. We do that, but you can't. You've got to be brave. And somehow then, you see the possibility. The number of times I've seen it, like people, like going on pilgrimages, for example. Oh, I'd love to go on that pilgrimage with you, Robina. And I'd say, what you say you will go? I will go on the pilgrimage. They are scared. Oh my God, you really think I can go on the pilgrimage? Because you don't believe you can do it. You can't find the $7,000 or whatever it might be, you know. The number of people who then as soon as you say it, I can do it, then all the doors open. And suddenly you can find a way to manage it. But to say, no, I can't do it, is what cuts us off at the knees, you know? And this is what keeps us completely stuck in any of our goals. Forget about spiritual. Are we communicating? This is a very brave one. But it's tricky, because we hear our old habits, you know? We've got to say we can do it. Then you go slowly, step by step, according to your pace. You never give up saying, I can do it. Because logically, you can. You can become a Buddha. I can do this. I can do that. I can change my job. I can leave my husband. I can lose weight. We just have to have the courage to say it and then find the meaning. Well, of course, we're talking spiritual here, but we can see in daily life, you know. And we taste our own potential then. We get courageous. That's enthusiastic perseverance. That's joyful effort. Because in the end, it's not, in the beginning, it's not so joyful. But as you go, it becomes joyful. And you just pull your sleeves up and greet the problems. You don't mind, you know. So that's the four of the six perfections. The first one is generosity, which we did before. Morality, patience, perseverance. Generosity, morality, patience, perseverance. Or joyful effort. You can hear the words. So tasty. Persevere at something. And that means I can do it. And it means you can't put it off. And it means get out of your, you know, get off your cushion. Get off your bum, you know. Step by step. Slowly, incrementally. And of course, the thing you're going to make effort at is the thing that you can see the benefit of. I always quote this story, always this one. This is a samsaric example. When I was living in the Bay Area, I remember, you know, all these Silicon Valley people and these young guys back in the 90s, these young guys, who knows who they were, one of their big startups, you know. They were doing their startup and they were going to have their IPO, their initial public offering on the stock exchange, which means, of course, like, you know, like the latest one, Tumblr, $1 billion Yahoo paid this little chap, 26-year-old little lad, you know, just got $1 billion, they paid him $1 million for their company. I mean, so, of course, so these guys were doing whatever their company was. I don't remember who they were. Who knows, maybe it'd been Google, I don't remember. I don't remember, actually. It was in the 90s. It could have been Google, actually. They started in the 90s. Because there you are, you know, working like a little computer, little guy, a little nerd, you know, with your little computer in your in your father's garage, a small computer, and then suddenly, you know, you've got this company going, and the idea, of course, is you have this fantasy of becoming this $1 billion company like Facebook, like all these people. Because it's your fantasy. Of course it is. But you can't believe it's possible, you know. You're just a little guy working away, desperate for investments. And then they got some and they were going to have the IPO. So these guys, I forget the story, it was something like 3 or 4, I don't remember, several of them, 17, 18-year-olds. And they worked, they said, I remember this, 18 hours a day, 7 days a week for 6 months or something like that. I always change every time I tell it. Now, that's enthusiasm. That's joyful effort. So don't tell me when they woke up in the morning they weren't utterly exhausted and they would rather go back to bed. Yeah? But the millisecond they remembered their goal, out the bed. Because the goal won over the comfort. They saw the benefit of the goal. Don't tell me they would rather not put it off, do it later, hang out with the girlfriend, watch the television. Forget it. They persevered. And for sure, guaranteed they would have had agonies of self-doubt. Are you really sure we can do this? My God, this seems impossible. This is like the ideal, you know. We all have this. But you've got to persevere. And one step at a time. Push yourself. You've got to push. At the same time, you've got to relax as well. We push too hard neurotically and we have a mental breakdown. Because it's the wrong pushing. It's neurotic attachment pushing. You've got to push with immense effort and pleasure. And then you relax. There's a way to do it. The Lamas all say, I guess you know what Conchon's saying. When you meditate, you retreat, you do deadly serious retreat. But then and I remember Tenzin's over his attendant talking about how he'd come out of his cave on the sunny day, and after his months, weeks, and days of meditating, then he'd have a break. But he'd sit there completely relaxed in the sun, enjoying his tea, looking like as if he had not a care in the world. When we have a break, we're kind of all anxious and worried about the work again. You know, we don't know how to have a break. We don't know how to relax. you know. So when you really work hard, you really work hard. Then you really relax, and you relax, and you get this good combination. Rather than neurotic, anxious, push, 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 you know. You exhaust yourself there. This, of course, is all in relation to our practice to become a Buddha, that the Bodhisattvas have bucket loads of, are totally exhausting. When I think of Vajrasattva, he's this perky enthusiasm 24 hours a day for sentient beings. It's just like you can't even think about it. He doesn't sleep. Only ever works for sentient beings 24 hours a day. It's hard to even, it just makes you tired thinking about it, you know? And I know Roger said about Rinpoche, for Rinpoche, sleep is a disgusting waste of time. So the best I can do when I go toward my delicious bed, any bed anywhere, I don't mind, any bed anywhere will do me, I'm happy. I love my bed, it's the most delicious thing at night. And it's true, as you get older, you have less need for pleasure, you just want to go to sleep, you know? I can't believe my bed, you know? So I lie down, sink into the sheets, and the comfort. And then I say to myself, please bless me, Rinpoche, to see sleep as a disgusting waste of time. I figure at least I put the imprint in my mind, you know. Slowly it might ripen. And I go straight to sleep. Okay. So why don't we just, with enthusiasm, do a little 5 minutes of watching it's only 20 tonight. 5 minutes, all right? 5 quality minutes watching your breath, please. Watching your mind, okay? Just watch your mind. Don't quite sure what you're doing. Don't worry about it. Close your eyes. Just sit down. Be real natural. And just pay attention to the mind. That means whatever pops up. It feels kind of peculiar sometimes, but never mind. Just do it. So, and a good way to, in this room, because it's quiet, so it's not such a good example. When there's noises, it's a very good exercise. Because look at this. This is the key to understanding by watching your mind, by keeping in your mind, by keeping stable in the mind. But usually the millisecond a sound happens, isn't it? This is what happens in daily life. We're so exhausted by the end of the day. The second a sound comes, our mind is magnetized by it, isn't it? It runs to it. It wants to comment on it. What is it? It's like this. It's nice. It's not nice. And then we get upset or we get happy. So it's like ignore. You can't make the sounds go away. You can't make the thoughts go away. The aim isn't to wish they'd go away. That would make you stress. It's just to simply ignore the sounds, for example. So the mind is one thing, and then the sound is another. But we just absorb into the sound within a millisecond, which is why we get exhausted by the end of the day, because we're having all these opinions about it. You just don't need to. There's no noise around here, so it's hard to do this one. But just to be conscious of the subject, which is your mind. The noise is an object. So just the mind. Whatever arises, if it's a sensory awareness of the feeling of your body, or if it's a mental consciousness, don't analyze it too much. Don't get all tricky with yourself. Simply have a sharp awareness, sharp attention. Just observe the mind. A few minutes, that's all you need to do. Quality. Nice deep breaths, steady and steady, but steady as you focus on the mind. attention sharp. Watching the mind. That was about 1.5 minutes only, so that 2 minutes we just did. So keep it really good quality. 3 more minutes, 4 more minutes. One more minute. Keep your mind focused, sharp. Don't space out. Very easy to do. Okay. And dedicate now. There's a couple of prayers we can do. Dedication prayers. Dedication, the red one. Due to the merits of these virtuous actions, may I quickly attain the state of a Guru Buddha and lead all living beings, without exception, into that enlightened state. May the supreme jewel, bodhicitta, that has not arisen in the minds of others, arise and grow in the minds of everybody. And may that which has arisen not diminish, but increase more and more. And on the left there, may the precious view of emptiness that has not arisen arise and grow. And may that which has not arisen not diminish, but increase more and more. And then the long life prayers of Lama Zopa Rinpoche and His Holiness Dalai Lama and all the holy beings that we know, page 244. Just make a wish that they all live long. The world needs them badly. Kangri rawe korwe jingamji pendang dewa malu jongwene chenre ziguang tenzin gyatso yi shakpe sije bardu tenduchi. And Lama Zopa Rinpoche, who had a stroke actually here a couple of years ago, that he get healthy and well and live a long, long time and keep teaching us. You who uphold the subduer's moral way, who serve as the bountiful bearer of all, sustaining, preserving and spreading Manjunath's victorious doctrine. Manjunath is another name for Manjushri, the Buddha of wisdom. Who masterfully accomplishes magnificent prayers honouring the three jewels. Saviour of myself and others, your disciples, please, please live long. Okay, so we do our homework. We want to go to sleep with the Buddha on your lap if you like. Have the Buddha on your lap. Or you can just go to sleep and you sink into sleep and you try to be conscious. You think, I'm going to be conscious of my dreams. But when you dream, you see your dream as a dream. It's like they say, you see your life as illusory or see life as like a dream. So it's good to be conscious, Wake up, even during dreams. And then when you wake up, bliss out that you're still alive. Be astonished that you didn't die and go to a lower realm. That you still have some petrol tank in your morality, in your tank. Petrol in your morality tank. And morality in your petrol tank. So have a good sleep, and I'll see you at 6 o'clock. Okay, thank you so much.